Warriors GM Mike Dunleavy held a press conference today to talk about a few things: the Jimmy Butler injury, the Kuminga trade demand, and then the Warriors heading into the trade deadline. The full video is on the Warriors YouTube channel, but here's a few interesting things that he had to say.
Haven't talked to you, I don't think, since the report of Kuminga's trade demand. How did you take that, and does Jimmy's injury alter the way you're approaching what Kuminga what could happen to him, by the trade deadline?
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as the demand, I'm aware of that. I think when in terms of demands, when you make a demand, there needs to be demand on the market. So we'll see where that unfolds. But heard, always with these guys, I tell them I'm willing to work with them, want to help people out, whether that's JK.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back. If you just listened to that, you heard the single most important sentence that defines the entire Jonathan Kuminga trade saga. It wasn't an emotional outburst. It wasn't a vague corporate statement. It was a cold, hard dose of reality from Warriors GM Mike Dunleavy, and it completely reframes how we should view this entire situation. Let's break down that key line. There needs to be demand. On the surface, it sounds simple. Of course, a trade needs another team to want the player. But in the context of the modern NBA, and specifically for the Golden State Warriors, that statement is loaded with meaning and sends several brutal messages. First, it's a reality check for Kuminga and his camp. By saying this publicly, Dunleavy is essentially stating, your desire to leave is noted, but it's not enough. The league has to validate your value. It immediately shifts the power dynamic. It's no longer just about what Kuminga wants. It's about what the market says he's worth. If there isn't a robust market, if other GMs aren't lining up with compelling offers, then the Warriors have zero incentive to make a move. They can simply say, we tried, but the offers weren't there, and bring him back. This statement puts the onus on Kuminga's representatives to go out and create that demand, which is a much harder task. Second, it's a subtle but public valuation of Kuminga's league-wide stock. Think about it. If Kuminga were viewed as a surefire, can't-miss star prospect, Dunleavy wouldn't have to say this. The demand would be a given, and the statement would be about evaluating all offers. By explicitly stating that demand needs to exist, Dunleavy is, perhaps unintentionally, acknowledging that Kuminga's value around the league might not be as high as his potential suggests. It hints at the gap between how the Warriors and Kuminga might see his talent and how other executives see a raw, inconsistent player who hasn't cracked a set rotation on a veteran team. Third, it reveals the Warriors' pragmatic, unsentimental approach. This is the dynasty's front office speaking. They are not in the business of granting wishes out of goodwill. They are in the business of winning and managing assets. Dunleavy's comment divorces emotion from the equation. The organization's calculus is simple. Does trading Jonathan Kuminga make us better? And that answer depends entirely on the return, which depends entirely on demand. This connects directly to the other key points from the press conference that your summary highlighted. The cautious but open stance on trades. They won't rush. They'll wait to see if the demand materializes into an offer that fits their very specific criteria, an offer for a high-impact, long-term contributor. They're not looking for spare parts or future draft picks 5 years out. They want a player who helps now and later. That's an incredibly high bar, which further reduces the likelihood of a deal. The value of draft picks. Dunleavy stressing that picks are valuable and would only be moved for impact players reinforces this same asset management mindset. They won't devalue their future to simply accommodate a present-day headache unless the return is overwhelming. The Jimmy Butler injury factor. While this creates a short-term need, it doesn't change their long-term valuation principles. It might make them look harder at the trade market, but it won't make them desperate. Desperation is what leads to bad deals, and this statement proves they are not desperate. So, what's the ultimate takeaway from Dunleavy's brief but brutal comment? Jonathan Kuminga's future is no longer in his hands, or even fully in the Warriors' hands. It's in the hands of 29 other general managers. The next few weeks are an open audition, whether he's on the court for Golden State or not. Every game he plays, every highlight he creates, is now a pitch to the rest of the league. This is why you should demand me. If that demand doesn't materialize, the Warriors are perfectly content to bring him back, let him play, and hope he either increases his value or plays his way into their long-term plans. It's a masterclass in how a savvy front office manages a disgruntled player without ceding leverage or making emotional decisions. What do you think? Was Mike Dunleavy's demand comment a shrewd power move or a risky admission about Kuminga's market? And which team do you think could realistically create the demand needed to pry him away from Golden State? Let me know your predictions in the comments below. If you appreciate this kind of front office strategy breakdown, make sure to like and subscribe for more.